Today I'm going to be talking about the great equalizer, or as it's colloquially known, the internet. The internet has always given me my greatest opportunities, mainly because I was born in Generation Z, so I was able to take advantage of a lot of things that most people in most generations of human history have not been able to. Today I'm going to talk about those things and how you can use the internet to move up a class or just be able to get the life that you want. So let's talk about the biggest advantages of it. First, we have access. We have access to more information than in human history. It has never been easier to get information on any topic, any skill you could ever consider building. For example, I was talking to my mother the other day, and in the 90s, whenever she wanted to learn something and wanted to do something, she would mainly have to go to the library, grab a book, and hopefully it's a good enough book and it's not outdated to be able to give her the information that is accurate and usable at the time. And also a big thing with access, even if you were able to learn about the skill, putting it into practice was way harder because you had to talk to people who have done it before. And if you weren't born in a good or perfect or great situation, then having access to the people who've done big things and have gotten, huge results before is really difficult because you don't really grow up around those people. And the main way to get around those people was to get a college education and meet people during that time. And college is still a great and phenomenal way to gain access to those circles, but now it's not the only way. Now you're able to access more information and find people who've done exactly what you want to do. Next, I talked about a little bit skill building. Building skills is the easiest thing you could possibly do on the internet. Well, it's hard to find accurate and good information, but you can try everything with so little risk on the internet, depending on what you consider risky. For example, for me, I never necessarily fit in much in high school, so anytime I would try a new skill or try to do photography or try to start a new business, I never thought about the social repercussions of it, because since I never fit in, why does it matter if people are going to judge me anyway? That was my thought process at the time. Honestly, I think it's a better mentality than to just be scared and not try something at all. But I was able to build skills and fail a lot, and the internet just makes your failures more public if you do things online, which is okay. I mean, if you're going to judge the person, the only people who are going to judge you for failing are people who've never tried. I will never judge a person for starting their first business and doing horrible and making the worst decisions ever, because they're going to learn. But you know who will judge that person? The person who's never going to start and thinks they know everything. So skill building is one of the main advantages, and it's pretty easy to find good information on certain topics. But then there's other information that is harder to come across. So there's a lot of good information, for example, on real estate, and like you get the good basics of it, but there's a lot of difficult things when it comes to real estate, such as like correctly gaining financing. How do you make connections? How do you like find people for certain things? And that gets a little bit more murky. I mean, for example, when I was learning development, I used Rehab Valuator. He has a great channel and a great product. I really stand by it, and he gives you the basics of how to do that. But then you have other people that just tell you to buy a home, borrow, refinance, until you die, and do that until you get $1 billion. But, it doesn't necessarily, that's not a good strategy if you want a less stressful life, because being in that much leverage is a huge issue. Enough rambling. Skill building is a great advantage of the internet that my parents never had. Convenience. So obviously the internet makes things convenient, like skill building, like access to information. But the main convenience is you can do everything from home, realistically. Also, meeting people from home is a huge advantage. I know social media isn't necessarily social, and that's not what the platforms are really used for, but you can use them for the function they were designed: to meet people, to make friends, to make connections, to try to build something. And then also, you can do things on the internet like if you're starting to actually make a lot of money, but you don't necessarily want to. I mean, I'll talk about this another time, but when you're making a lot of money, it's going to start costing you more money at a certain point to do things like cooking, cleaning. So, to get around that, you can have people who are on the internet come to your house and do those things for you and help you with those things. So, that's a huge bonus and a huge plus that I really like. And lastly, it's a dependable tool. This is very obvious. I'm saying things that are relatively obvious to people, but they don't really understand. Like, there's still a lot of people who have the idea of making money, but just can't put it into practice. And it's only because there's no secret way. There's no big secret in how to make money, how to move up. But you need to be using the internet as a tool, which is what it was designed for. It was designed to share information super quickly. So instead of just using it as an entertainment box, you're likely going to have a better time if you're using it to learn something, to try something, to build something. If you're already watching this video and you're this far into it, likely you're trying to work on your tool use for the internet anyway. So that's what I recommend. These are all the advantages of the internet. Now, how can you win? How can you put this into practice? The main way I won, and this is the only reason I'm going to talk about how I won, because you can take from me, and I think personal experience is the best teacher. So how can you win? The first way I won was learning marketing. When it comes to marketing, you can market in the normal sense, such as billboards, bus stop advertisements, posters, flyers, signs, things like that. And those are all work. Those are all good marketing tools. But they are a bit outdated, and they can be pretty expensive if you don't have much of a budget. But you know what's free? Creating a social media account. YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all those things. Now, the iPhone you get, or whatever phone you get, is not free, but you can get a cheaper one. I don't ever have the new iPhone. I always go for a cheaper refurbished model because, I'm cheap, but that's just me, and they work fine. You can get an iPhone 2 generations behind for half the price of the new one, and they work just fine, and they still perform the same function as the other one. But this was the way I did it. I learned marketing mainly on social media because it was free. And also, not a lot of people are still able to market correctly. Why do you think there are YouTubers who fall off? Why do you think there are, rappers who fall off? Because they only blew up and learned that one aspect of marketing. But how you continually grow and adapt, this is what the internet can teach you. And it only teaches you that through experience. The only way you can learn something like marketing is by trying, and trying to stay as cheap as you can for as long as you can until it doesn't work anymore. For example, for real estate, it no longer works for me just to be spending money online ads. Like, you need to be in person, you need to be on bus stops, you need to be on billboards, you need to put your open house signs everywhere. And that stuff isn't free. None of that is free. But online marketing is. And that's a great way how you can start learning. And I'm not promoting social media marketing like SMMA. I don't even know what that is. But you can start to sell other people's products, and you can learn how to be an affiliate and just how to build an audience. That's a great way you can do it. Another way I've used the internet. I already talked about learning marketing as a skill, but making connections. So I've met a lot of interesting people online, and obviously not everyone you can trust, but also I've met people who have fundamentally shaped how I think and how I've been able to make money and how I've been able to progress in life. So without the internet, without using social media, I wouldn't be in the position where I am now to be able to try and teach other people to do things. I'm not selling a course, but I do want to spread some information, and I'm realistically making videos that I myself would have appreciated when I was about 18, 19, just starting and learning. And if you are like me in 18 and 19 and you're still just trying to figure out a way to grow and to make money, and how do you do that because you can't even conceive of doing something like that? I mean, you can conceive of it, but it's not really coming together. And I want to tell you, you're never going to figure out the tried and true method to make money. You have to try a whole bunch of shit and you have to fail all the time to be able to actually succeed and actually grow. And it never feels like you're going to grow. It never feels like you feel like you're going to be stuck and you don't really know what you're doing, but eventually things will start to come into place and you'll be able to start to recognize patterns and understand how to make better decisions than the last. All that means is just making more decisions that are better than the ones you did before. And one of my best decisions was trying to contact people when I was able to contact them and when I felt like I needed to learn something, and I just wanted to be involved with other people who were more like-minded as me. Now, the last thing that I've used the internet for, and it's been very vital and very important for me, the last thing you can use the internet for is building a brand. Your brand, your social media profile, whether you want to believe it or not, is your brand. However you look online is how you look to thousands and thousands of people you'll never meet. So if you are on social media and if you're posting photos, for example, of you shirtless all the time, and you're posting photos of you, doing more seductive gestures on the camera, a lot of people are going to perceive you in a certain light. And also, the other way, there's also certain preconceived notions we have of people who try to sell information. So a course seller, if you are online and you're flashing, your Lamborghini, your new penthouse, a whole bunch of money, stats and things like that, my first reaction is immediately to recoil and be like, okay, this man's a scammer, even if they're not. Even if they're just selling good information, you'll never really know because that's just how people are perceived like that. But you can build a brand, and not just a brand, more a reputation. My first experience of this was doing it for my sneaker business that I launched years ago. The way I would build a brand is I would get as many comments from other sneaker resellers that I've done deals with to be able to show that I'm an honorable and real trader. I'm able to follow through on a deal, and I have the trust and, previous work and transactions with all these other high level and trustworthy people. So you should trust me. And when you build that brand, people are going to recognize you and they're going to trust you. Trust is more important than anything else. How do you gain trust? You need to show that you are trustworthy by building a brand, building something, doing anything. Those are the 3 ways that I was able to win using the internet, and you can do any other number of ways. I got my real estate license, I met my mentor online, I've made money, most of the money I've ever made online. Every job I've gotten, I've used Indeed. I've done literally everything, even learning how to talk to girls, learning how to do anything. I've done it online, but that's because I used it as a tool. And if you aren't in the situation you want to be in right now, you should learn how to use the internet more as a tool to help you. Don't fall for the, this is the one trick to use to get to $10 million. That's not going to work. There is no such thing. There is something you can start and try to learn. And if you make $10 million doing that, congrats. But chances are you need to find another way to continue to grow and to continue to get better, become more knowledgeable. So learn how to use the internet as a tool, and it's a great way to equal the playing field for people that didn't get that big head start in life that sometimes we wish we did. All right, that's pretty much it. If you like what you saw, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.